I sat at Grandma's table, gripping the envelope, while my parents burst into laughter. "Oh, Mom, another one of your fake checks? How cute." Their mockery sliced through the air, but I saw Grandma's hands tremble as she set down her fork. The next morning, the banker's voice cut clear. "Your deposit of $50,000 has cleared, Ms. Taylor." My heart hammered. Mine processed, but theirs? That call shattered the family I'd clung to, turning trust to ash. The pain hit first, raw and disorienting, then anger simmered beneath. This wasn't a joke. It was the end of illusions, pushing me toward something unbreakable. Emma Taylor, 28, balanced ledgers in a quiet Columbus office, her days steady amid Ohio's gray winters. She drove 2 hours north every holiday to Grandma Ellen's farm in rural Cleveland, drawn by the one bond that felt real. Her parents, Richard and Susan, lived in a sprawling suburb south of the city, their lives a showcase of success: big house, luxury cars, endless social posts. But Emma knew the truth. It all rested on Grandma's savings, funneled through loans they never repaid. This Thanksgiving, Emma arrived early, chopping vegetables while Grandma stirred the gravy. The kitchen hummed with their shared rhythm, a rare ease that made Emma's chest loosen. She valued these moments, reminders that family could mean more than performance. Richard and Susan pulled up late, tires crunching gravel, their arrival marked by forced cheer. They hugged Grandma briefly, I scanning the room as if tallying assets. Dinner unfolded around the oak table. Plates of turkey and mashed potatoes passed in tense silence. Small talk skirted work, Emma's stable job, her parents' vague business ventures. Then Grandma reached into her apron, pulling out 3 plain envelopes. She slid one to each, her voice soft. A small gift for the season. Emma took hers without a word, tucking it into her purse. Gratitude swelled quietly. She wouldn't cheapen the gesture. Her parents tore theirs open immediately. Richard held up the check, waving it like a flag. He laughed first, loud and dismissive, claiming it must be another of Grandma's old pranks. Susan joined in, her tone light but edged, suggesting they frame it as a family joke. They didn't notice Grandma's pause, the way her fingers tightened on her glass. Emma felt the shift instantly, a chill settling in her gut. Their laughter echoed, turning the meal sour. She pushed food around her plate, doubt creeping in. Why mock something offered with care? The air thickened, suspicion gnawing at the edges of their bond. As plates cleared, Richard pocketed his envelope, still chuckling to himself. Susan leaned toward Grandma, her voice indirect now, implying the gift was sweet but unnecessary for successful folks like them. Emma stayed silent, but the words stung. She helped wash dishes afterward, water running hot over her hands, while her parents retreated to the living room. Grandma dried a plate slowly, her movements deliberate. Emma caught the flicker in her eyes, hurt masked as patience. The drive home later stretched long, headlights cutting fog. Richard drove, Susan in the passenger seat, their conversation drifting to complaints about Grandma's outdated ways. Emma sat in back, envelope heavy in her lap. She considered depositing it, not for the money, but to honor the intent. Trust frayed with each mile. Their casual cruelty hinted at deeper cracks. That night, alone in her apartment, Emma pulled out the check. $50,000, in crisp and signature steady. No joke in the lines. She scanned it via app before bed. A quiet act of respect. Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with echoes of laughter. Morning brought the bank call, confirming the deposit. Relief mixed with unease. What if her parents had tried theirs? Her phone buzzed soon after. Susan's name. The message accused her of favoritism, claiming their checks bounced while hers cleared. Emma's breath caught. Anger flared, hot and confusing. She drove to work in silence, mind racing. The family's polished surface hid rot, and this exposed it. Doubt turned to resolve. She wouldn't let their betrayal slide unanswered. By afternoon, Emma met a colleague for coffee, needing distance. She shared fragments, voice steady despite the turmoil. The friend nodded, warning that family often hid motives behind smiles. Emma absorbed it, pieces clicking. Her parents' business, real estate flips, relied on Grandma's funds, yet they belittled her efforts. Calls came next. Richard demanding details, his tone sharp, implying she'd manipulated the situation. Susan followed, her indirect pleas laced with blame, suggesting Grandma played games to divide them. Emma ended the talk short, heart pounding. The humiliation burned. Not just the laughter, but the years of overlooked signals. She'd excused their jabs as stress, but now they stacked like evidence. Evening found her at Grandma's unannounced, door opening to the familiar creak. Ellen welcomed her with tea, no questions. Over cups, the story spilled. Richard and Susan had borrowed heavily, promising returns that never came. They'd laughed to deflect, but it revealed their disregard. Emma listened, shock deepening to fury. The woman who'd raised her, sacrificed for their comfort, reduced to a punchline. Tears pricked, but Emma swallowed them. Confusion swirled. How had she missed this erosion? The farm felt smaller, walls pressing in on lost trust. She hugged Grandma tight, promising to handle it. Driving back, resolve hardened. No more victim. She'd confront the fracture head-on. Tension coiled tighter, each heartbeat a step toward reclaiming control. The bank's confirmation lingered in Emma's mind as she gripped the steering wheel, heading back to her apartment after the call from Susan. Doubt twisted into certainty. Her parents' mockery hid more than indifference. She pulled over at a coffee shop, ordering a black brew to steady her hands. Texts flooded in. Richard demanding she reverse the deposit, claiming favoritism ruined family ties. Susan's followed, indirect barbs about Grandma's games dividing them. Emma ignored them, fingers tapping the envelope in her purse. The check's weight pressed. She'd honored it without question, unlike them. Work dragged that afternoon, numbers blurring on her screen. A co-worker noticed her distraction, asked if everything was okay. Emma shared the basics, the dinner, the laughter, the cleared deposit. The friend frowned, suggesting family secrets often surfaced this way. Emma nodded, unease building. She left early, driving straight to Grandma's farm. The gravel path crunched under tires, but she barely registered it. Ellen met her at the door, sensing the urgency without words. They sat at the kitchen table, steam rising from fresh tea. Ellen slid over a worn folder, pages yellowed from years of use. Emma opened it, scanning statements, loans to Richard's real estate schemes, promises of repayment that vanished. Over $200,000 gone, funneled into houses and cars her parents flaunted. Ellen explained quietly. They'd pressured her, claiming business needs, then dismissed her concerns as outdated worries. The laughter at dinner? A deflection, but it cracked the facade. Emma's stomach knotted. Shock hit like a wave, washing away years of excuses. Her parents hadn't just mocked a gift. They'd eroded Ellen's security, treating her sacrifices as leverage. Details piled on. Forged signatures on smaller transfers, excuses about market dips delaying returns. Emma traced a line to a luxury vacation her parents posted about last summer. Funded by Ellen's nest egg. Anger surged, hot and disorienting, mixing with grief for the trust she'd lost. How many holidays had she overlooked their subtle digs at Grandma's frugality? The folder trembled in her hands. Ellen touched her arm, voice steady. No tears, just resolve to set things right. Emma absorbed it, the betrayal sinking deep. Not abstract, but personal, stripping away the family she'd idealized. She drove home in dusk, mind racing through memories. Childhood visits where Richard complained about Ellen's small gifts, Susan rolling eyes at farm life. Patterns emerged, each one a thread pulling the illusion apart. At her apartment, Emma spread the documents on the table, photographing pages for records. Calls came again. Richard's voicemail accused her of stirring trouble. Susan pleaded indirectly for unity. Emma deleted them, resolve hardening. The pain sharpened her focus. Confusion gave way to clarity. This wasn't favoritism, it was exposure of greed. Night fell, sleep elusive. She paced, replaying Ellen's words. They'd laughed to belittle, but the checks tested loyalty. Hers passed because she valued the giver, not the gain. Fury built, not wild, but contained, a cold burn pushing her forward. By morning, she'd contacted a lawyer friend, outlining the basics without emotion. The response came quick, evidence strong for restitution claims. Emma felt the shift. Victim no longer, but guardian. Tension coiled tighter. The family's fracture demanded action, and she'd deliver it measured, undeniable. Afternoon brought another confrontation. Susan showed up uninvited, knocking insistently. She entered, tone laced with accusation, implying Emma's deposit forced Ellen's hand. Emma stayed calm, showing one statement. A loan for their home down payment, never repaid. Susan deflected, claiming misunderstandings, but her evasion confirmed it. Emma didn't argue. She let the facts hang, watching denial crack. Susan left abruptly, door clicking shut. Alone, Emma's chest heaved. Humiliation from years of sidelined loyalty fueled her. The revelation transformed pain into purpose. Betrayal's sting birthed unyielding determination. Emma stared at the folder's final page, the betrayal's scope hitting full force. Years of drained savings, her parents' hands deep in grandma's accounts. Anger cooled into strategy. She wouldn't lash out, but exposed the truth through channels that demanded accountability. She texted her lawyer friend, Mark, requesting a discreet meeting. No accusations yet, just facts to review. The drive to his office downtown took 30 minutes, traffic a blur as her mind mapped steps. Mark greeted her in the lobby, leading to a small conference room where he spread the documents. He scanned loans, transfers, the unrepaid sums totaling over $200,000. Emma explained the dinner's laughter as the trigger, her deposit clearing while theirs halted. Mark nodded, outlining options. Civil claims for restitution, potential tax reporting for irregularities. She focused on the latter, anonymous tip to the IRS about unreported income from those loans. Not destruction, but correction. Let authorities untangle the mess. Back home, Emma organized evidence methodically. She digitized statements, cross-referencing dates with her parents' social posts, vacations, renovations, all timed to grandma's withdrawals. Doubt lingered briefly. Could this fracture them irreparably? But resolve pushed it aside. Their actions had already done that. She drafted an IRS form online, detailing discrepancies without names at first, then adding them carefully. Fingers hovered over submit, heart rate spiking. This step escalated tension, turning internal fury outward in controlled bursts. Mark advised caution. Gather witnesses if needed, like the bank teller who processed her check. Emma called the bank, requesting transaction logs under privacy rules. The rep confirmed availability, mailing copies. Each action built momentum, her confusion yielding to precision. Night deepened as she composed a letter to her parents. Not confrontational, but inviting clarity. She proposed a family meeting with Mark present, to discuss finances openly. Indirect phrasing softened it. Concerns about shared history, need for resolution. Sealing the envelope, she felt the shift, no longer reactive, but directing the narrative. Sleep came in fits, dreams replaying Susan's deflections, Richard's demands. Morning brought Mark's email. Restitution viable under Ohio law for undue influence on elders. He attached templates for demands, emphasizing emotional harm clauses. Emma printed them, marking sections for Grandma's input. She drove to the farm, handing Ellen the drafts. Grandma reviewed silently, then signed where needed, her trust in Emma absolute. The act bonded them tighter. Pain from betrayal forging alliance. Afternoon involved research, Ohio statutes on elder financial abuse, penalties for misrepresentation. Emma noted fines, repayment orders, even business audits that could halt Richard's deals. Not vengeance, but justice, mirror their deceit back at them. She visited the post office, mailing the letter certified. Tracking showed delivery imminent. Tension mounted with each hour. What would they say? Calls from Susan arrived. Voicemails pleading for privacy, implying Emma overreacted to old matters. Emma screened them, documenting tones for Mark. The lawyer suggested mediation next, neutral ground to negotiate returns. She agreed, scheduling a session. Preparation consumed her. Role-playing responses, anticipating denials. Anger fueled focus, transforming humiliation into leverage. By evening, Emma met a trusted aunt, Ellen's sister, over coffee. The aunt confirmed suspicions. Richard's ventures faltered years ago, propped by family funds. She offered testimony if pursued. Emma thanked her, pocketing the contact. Driving home, clarity sharpened. This plan wasn't about winning, but restoring balance. IRS submission finalized that night, form filed electronically. Confirmation email pinged, investigation queued. Her chest tightened, a mix of dread and empowerment. Betrayal's wound pulsed, but planning cauterized it, birthing cold determination. No hysterics, just calculated moves toward equity. The family's web unraveled thread by thread, her hands steady on the pull. Emma arrived at the Neutral Conference Center in downtown Columbus, the mediation room stark and functional. Mark sat beside her, folder of documents ready. She chose this spot to avoid farm familiarity, keeping focus on facts. Richard and Susan entered minutes later, Richard leading with clipped steps, Susan trailing. They took seats opposite, Richard launching indirect complaints about wasted time. implying Emma dragged them into unnecessary drama. Mark opened proceedings, laying out the agenda: review finances, seek restitution. Emma stayed silent initially, letting evidence speak. She slid copies of statements across the table. Loans dated back a decade, transfers matching their property purchases. Richard scanned one, dismissing it as old business resolved long ago. Susan added indirectly, suggesting Grandma misunderstood terms, that returns came in other forms. Emma spoke then, voice even. The IRS filing from last week flagged irregularities, audits pending. She detailed the form's contents: unreported income, patterns of withdrawal without documentation. Mark supplemented with Ohio elder abuse statutes, citing sections on financial exploitation. Penalties for undue influence, required repayments. Richard shifted, demanding proof of intent, but Emma countered with timestamps. Dinner laughter coinciding with halted checks, a deliberate test Grandma set. The room tensed. Susan's questions turned evasive, probing for withdrawal options. Mediation stretched 2 hours, Mark pressing for partial restitution. $50,000 immediate, balance in installments. Richard resisted, countering with accusations of Emma's manipulation, claiming she poisoned family ties. Emma didn't rise. She presented the aunt's affidavit, confirming witness pressures on Grandma. Consequences unfolded swiftly. Mediator noted viable civil claims, advising settlement to avoid court. By session end, Richard agreed to initial payment, wired that afternoon. Susan followed with indirect apologies via text, blaming stress, but Emma archived without reply. Driving home, satisfaction mixed with hollow ache. Justice landed, but scars remained. Word spread quietly in family circles. Richard's real estate partners pulled from deals, audits revealing sloppy records. Susan's social invites dried up, whispers of financial woes circulating. The IRS notice arrived days later, summoning records. Fines loomed for undeclared gains. Emma monitored from afar, updating Grandma weekly. Ellen received the first check, depositing it toward farm repairs. No gloating. Emma felt the weight lift incrementally. Tension peaked when Richard called, voice strained, requesting a private talk. She met him at a park bench, neutral ground. He admitted overreach, indirectly seeking leniency, promising full repayment. Emma outlined terms, documented plan, no more contact until fulfilled. He nodded, leaving with papers. Consequences rippled outward. Susan attempted reconciliation through shared memories, but Emma redirected to actions over words. The business audit forced asset sales, one property listed, proceeds earmarked for restitution. Emma's resolve held. She documented each step for Mark, building a case file if needed. Grandma's account stabilized, new safeguards in place. Joint oversight with Emma. Nights brought reflection. Betrayal's pain echoed, but actions reclaimed power. No shouts, no breakdowns. The plan's execution mirrored their deceit back, forcing accountability. Satisfaction grew, tempered by respect for the process, justice, not chaos. A month in, full repayment cleared, wired in lumps. Richard's firm downsized. Susan took a part-time job. Emma visited Grandma, sharing tea without dwelling. The aunt called, praising the outcome. Family alerted, protections extended. Emma felt the transformation complete. Humiliation transmuted to strength. Viewers sensed the elegance. No violence, just truth's quiet force. Parents faced their reflections, consequences self-inflicted. Emma walked away unburdened, control hers at last. The months following the mediation unfolded quietly but surely. Emma's relationship with Grandma Ellen grew deeper, built on trust and shared strength after the storm. The farm, once a symbol of fragile security, flourished with new care and stability. Emma managed the finances now transparently, regularly updating Ellen. The burden of secrecy and betrayal lifted, replaced by a hard-earned peace that no longer depended on illusions or performances. Richard and Susan retreated from family life. Richard's business troubles worsened. The audits revealed financial irregularities beyond just the family disputes. Fines and penalties forced cutbacks, and many social connections withered. Susan reduced public appearances and took a part-time job to ease financial strain. Their attempts to reconcile with Emma remained polite but distant, lacking the warmth once expected. Emma accepted this distance without resentment, understanding that trust once broken needs time and true effort to heal. Emma no longer sought their approval or validation. The years of humiliation and sidelining gave way to a steady confidence born of standing firm in her values. The bank's initial phone call that shattered her family's facade became a turning point, not just for restitution, but for self-respect. She learned that true power lies in clarity and integrity, not control or appearances. Visits with Grandma offered quiet joy. They talked more freely. Ellen no longer shadowed by worry. Occasionally, Ellen mentioned the past with a hint of sadness, but also pride in Emma's courage and resolve. Their bond, tested and proven, became a source of hope rather than pain. Emma's story spread quietly in close circles, a testament to resilience and the hard-won justice that respected dignity. The wrongdoers faced consequences, not the theatrical downfall of tales, but slow, real repercussions shaped by accountability and law. Emma didn't exact vengeance. She sought balance and closure. Her actions reflected a deep understanding that justice doesn't require destruction, only truth. The last chapter of this family saga closed not with loud confrontation, but a calm walk forward. Emma understood that while some bridges never fully rebuild, freedom comes from choosing one's path and owning it. She walked that path with quiet strength, carrying memories but shedding burdens. Her journey from betrayed daughter to confident guardian echoed with the power of moral clarity and hope. She didn't win family as it was but won something truer, a future shaped by respect, honesty, and inner peace. In letting go of the past shadows, Emma found light. She chose herself, not by breaking others, but by rising above. Her story ends not in brokenness but in freedom, a quiet victory over betrayal and pain. Я не зруйнувала вас. Ви зробили це самт. Echoed in her mind, a sealed ending and a new beginning.